So you've been on this amazing health journey. You've worked so hard to stay positive, and you found a community that you feel like has really helped you um, be more positive, or just feel comfortable in your own skin. And I'm curious, like, do you feel like the people in that group like have helped you be more comfortable in your own skin and helped you feel better?
Yes, like I think that everybody within that particular community is going through their own like thing. So like their journey that's led them to being like a certain size, it's been for like multiple reasons. So some people may have health conditions, so some people may not. Some people, just like everyone's got their own journey, but I think it's helped me because I have learned to accept myself. I think it's not just that community. I think it's a mixture of things. I think it's like I'm mentioning before about like the art therapy sessions that I was having. So like mentally, like I've learned to get rid of a lot of stuff that no longer needs to be in my brain because I've dealt with it. And I think that for me, a big part of body positivity is like has also been accepting my disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a major part because I think that when when we're fortunate enough to have bodies that are working, like as an able-bodied person, we do totally take it for granted, like being able to walk places or
Totally.
climbing stairs. Like I live in an apartment and we live on the second floor, so there are only two, like it's only three floors, like the ground first and second, and we live on the top floor and we've lived here for 10 years. Like we don't own the flat, like we rent it. And so when we moved in here, because there's no lift, like there's only stairs. And when we moved in, I was like fit and healthy, and I'd not even done my marathon at that point. So I was like doing two flights of stairs meant nothing. Whereas like people say to me all the time, like, why do you still live in a flat that's like you've got two flights of stairs to walk up when you struggle walking, like got a walking stick or crutches or what have you? Like why do you still put yourself through going up the two flights of stairs? And what I always say is that, like, to me that's a form of exercise, and if you stop doing something, then you're stopping your body from being able to do something. So if I
Yeah.
stop myself from climbing up two flights of stairs and climbing down two flights of stairs every time I want to go out, then my body will gradually stop being able to go up
That's true.
stairs.
That's true. That's
So
totally true. And Faye, you
yeah,
mentioned something really interesting. You said, body positivity and like disabilities. That's actually body positivity originated and started actually with people who didn't have arms, didn't have legs, and literally weren't able to walk and function like normal, able bodies. And it's
yeah,
kind of turned into something very different now than what it used to look like. I'm
yeah.
curious, what do you think about how it's kind of evolved? Because you definitely have some things that don't make you as able as others because of your health conditions. How do you feel about how that's kind of shifted?
I think that the body positivity movement, like you said, where it's originated from about, people that, missing parts of the body, or, you know, they no longer got those parts of the body. And I think that the body positivity movement itself has like so many different aspects to it, because I think that there's one thing to be, it's not saying that like it's okay for me to be like overweight because like I'm disabled, or you know like because I take loads of medication, like, but I know myself that I've tried so much, that in my head I can accept myself for how I am, because I know currently it's kind of taken out of my hands. So unless I put myself through a lot of pain by reducing all my medication, Like if I stopped taking my drugs tomorrow, like I would lose a lot of weight very quickly, but
Yeah.
I'd also not be able to get out of my bed and I'd have no
Right.
quality of life. Um, but I think that body positivity can also be looked at in like a like not necessarily the right way, because I think that you know there's body positivity and then there's like the unhealthy element of you know like just as a whole world we're going through like an obesity pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
like and like I can't like it's probably like even worse over in America because
Yeah, it is.
things like portion size and all that. We don't have like the same sort of portion size in the UK, but
Right,
there's
right.
still like there's you know but also at the same time like we have like we have um the what do they call it, cost of living crisis. So I don't know if you've heard of that, but certainly since like the pandemic and the way with the government in the UK, like we've got a cost of living crisis where and everything, and because of the war in Ukraine and like the energy prices like changing so much, like with gas, electricity, there's been like a lot of things that have affected people, and therefore people don't have the quantity of money that they once did to spend on food, and therefore people like things like fruits and vegetables and like healthier foods are have like risen in price so much that a lot of people can't afford to buy all those healthier options, and so are then faced with having to buy cheaper foods which are very often not as healthy, and therefore it's like a nasty vicious cycle.
I almost see it as like a plan to poison people, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we're gonna make healthy food so expensive for you, and we're gonna make the food that's super addictive and makes us a ton of money really low in cost, so that you can eat that and be sick, and then it benefits like all these other industries, and no one really talks about that. But that's interesting that you said it, because it sounds like you're very aware that like being obese and is like there is a pandemic, an obesity epidemic, and it sounds like you're really aware that it's unhealthy. And so in America, I don't know if you have this over there, but in America there's things like the fat liberation movement, like these like really interesting, I would call them interesting movements. And I'm curious, like how do you feel about like maybe fat liberation or fat positivity? Do you think that's maybe like is that a healthy mindset that we should be celebrating, or that we should be a part of, or is that something that maybe isn't so great for society?
That it's I don't think it's something to be celebrated necessarily. I think that like celebrating and accepting are two very different things. Like I don't celebrate being like overweight, but I accept that I'm overweight. Um, but and therefore, like you know, I still make sure that I wear nice clothes and wear the things that I want to, but that are also like appropriate for my body. And I'm aware of like some movements going on, like in particular in America, to do with like airline seats at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think it might be with like Southwestern
Yep. Yep.
Airlines, where there's like a big push on, if somebody like is too big to fit in one seat, that they should be able to get a second seat for free. Um, like, I mean, like, I think that if like there's one thing like on medical grounds, but if somebody like I'm not sure that I necessarily agree with that. Like like I would never expect to get two seats for the price of one, you know, because like I mean, it's like I fit in like I fit in one airplane seat. Like, you know, I suppose I've not had to think about that, but you know, I would never think like, oh, I can have two airplane seats because, you know, or two train seats, or like you pay for your seat
Yeah.
and you know you're like you know, it's like just because someone is like a slimmer person, like what if they want two seats to be able to put their feet up, or you know,
Exactly.
like a mother and baby, for example, like a mother and
Mhm.
baby, if you've got a baby or like a very small child, like they are like expected to go on the parents.
That's a great point. I never even thought about that, Feya. That's a brilliant point. Yeah.
I don't know at what age like a child is, you know, able to have a seat on their own, but if you've got a small baby, like
It
you're
would be
just,
helpful to have yeah,
yeah, like you don't get like a free seat for a baby to be
right.
able to sit in, for you to be able to put the baby down, for the baby to lie in the seat to have a
Yeah.
rest. Like if you're on a long haul flight, then you're holding that baby like throughout, and you know, but you don't get a free seat in those situations. And
Yep.
so if you suddenly started having like, you know, parental liberation, like like I don't know, maybe one will start after this conversation, but you know, I don't have children, and but but you know, I would think that, you know, if free seats are being given out, like, you know, if I've got friends who have got, and I've got, well, my best friend has a 2-year-old, and my brother has like, you know, two children, and so I would, you know, give them the free seat for their children, like over
Yeah.
taking the seat myself.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think that
Okay.
I do think the world can go a little bit, you know,
Extreme. I mean, everything in America is extreme. We have bigger cup sizes. We have bigger everything. Everything bigger. Everything needs to be like accommodated for a lot of things that I always say. I always tell myself, because I from being obese myself, I always say obesity to me from my personal experience is a choice. It's I choose, like you said earlier. You choose what you put in your mouth. You choose what you put in your body. You choose how much you exercise. And at the end of the day, it's a choice we all make. But should we be making children on planes, like you're saying, like not have a seat, and like making moms struggle and have to pay for that extra seat for their baby, but then you get a free seat just because, you know, you're overweight? Like, it doesn't, I agree with you, it doesn't really make sense, because it was a choice you made to get to that point.
like I think that, you know, like there like is a choice and there isn't. Like I said, you know, I was not, um, you know, when I damaged my back, I wasn't like slim or skinny, like, but I was, you know, like closer to like an average weight.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably put on like maybe 4 or 5 stone over the last few years,
Oh.
because of not being able to, like, you know, a lot of it's because of not being able to like move as much. Like I used to still go to like aquafit classes, like in the swimming pool I can exercise in. And
Mm-hmm.
even like when I went on holiday in um October to I went to Spain, and I went with my best friend, and my best friend's like, she's like much smaller than me. She's beautiful girl, like inside and outside, and she wore like a full swimming costume like every day, or like a tankini or something. She didn't feel confident in herself and comfortable enough to wear a bikini, like even just like with me, like round the pool.
Yeah.
I but like for me, like I felt if I could go on a beach in the UK and have some photos taken of me, and then I've then been brave enough to then put those photos of me in a bikini on the beach, like on my Instagram page, for example, to say, look, this is body positivity, and I'm like, you know, whatever. If I can do that, then if I'm going on holiday, I owe it to myself to still wear, you know, like a bikini top, and like I would wear like a little skirt because that's what made me feel more comfortable. And like on the very last day, I decided to be brave and wear a bikini that I'd had for years, like I'd had for years. I've never even taken the tags off it. But I wore it, and you know what? Like no one died. Like it was okay, and
Yeah.
I'm really proud of myself for it. But my friend, my best friend, she was like, looking around the pool, and there were, a lot of ladies like of all different sizes, just there in the bikinis, like, it's like it was okay, like it's skin, like no one's gonna, you know, like chase after you. But like, in the restaurants in the evenings, like you see people piling everything on their plates, like when they've got, the buffets and things like that. And I don't know, just I think that there's like gluttony and like just eating anything and everything is, and then saying like it's okay to like eat everything that you want and keep putting on the weight, but and things is not the right thing to be doing, because like obviously, like, you can be piling on the weight, and really it's not even about a size thing, because that's just going to affect your health anyway. Like my boyfriend, we've been together 14 years, and there is nothing of him, like he's like a beanpole, like he's weighs the same now as he did 14 years ago. But if you look, we eat different meals a lot of the time, because like we like different things, and I tend to eat healthier food.
Yeah.
So he will have 3 pizzas a week. Like I'm not talking giant pizzas, like just oven pizzas or whatever. And he's very picky with his food and very fussy with his food. So he'll have some, pizzas and like a few beers and what have you. And I drink water like a fish. Like I drink 2 to 3 liters of water a day, every day, because, not just because like, everyone says that was what you're meant to drink, but I just do it out of habit, because I mean, some of my medications make my mouth dry, so I like have to have a drink. But also, it's good to keep you hydrated and everything. And
That's yeah.
I'm curious, because it's true that thin people can be very unhealthy, and sometimes more unhealthy than plus size people, but people kind of just assume all thin people are healthy and all overweight people are all thin people are healthy and all overweight people are unhealthy, and that's like the assumption. But it's not always true. But you were mentioning earlier how like weight doesn't really like affect your health, I think you said. Did you say that?
well, no, like what I mean, weight does affect your health,
Okay.
because like, if you are eating anything and everything, the chances of you ending up with something like diabetes,
Yeah.
or like cholesterol problems, or heart problems,
Yeah.
like kidney, liver, like, and name a part of
Yeah.
your body, like it's going to have an issue.
Right.
Like the amount of times that I get asked, do I have diabetes? Like anytime I go for like a hospital appointment, or like, a doctor's appointment or like all sorts of things. Do you have diabetes? No, I don't have diabetes. Like,
Yeah.
and it's frustrating because it's somebody's looking at me from the size of my body and
Yep.
then automatically going, oh, you're overweight, therefore you're an unhealthy person.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not just as simple as that. Like,
Right.
you can be overweight and actually still trying to do the right thing. um and so I think that's where, with the like, you know body acceptance and body positivity and like all the different like fat liberations and like everything else that people try and put forward, it's not just as simple
Mm-hmm.
as that. Like, I don't, people shouldn't be thinking it's all right to, you know eat what they want and then they're going to be okay.
And yeah, and in America, it's so popular to think that. Like everyone in America, not everyone, but a lot of people in America, they're like, eat whatever you want, eat as much as you want, you're fine, it's healthy. Being overweight's healthy, you're beautiful, go girl. And that brings me to this question, this is a tricky question because, I mean, it's just an interesting one. Do you believe that beauty is objective? Like, yeah.
Mm, yes.
Okay. Can you
Yes.
elaborate a little bit more on that? Like, you think all bodies are beautiful at all sizes?
No.
No, okay. So what is beautiful and then like
What maybe like isn't as beautiful?
So I think that the I think that if you're looking at a picture, you can objectively say if a picture is beautiful or not. And I don't think it's all about the body. I think it's like a lot of it comes from like the face and the way that somebody looks. Like, I think the happiness makes people beautiful. Like, one of the people that came into my work, or that comes into my work, said something interesting to me a couple of weeks ago. And this person, she's like beautiful. Like, she reminds me of Jasmine from Aladdin, Princess Jasmine.
Oh, yeah.
She's from Iran and she's a beautiful girl, beautiful. And I said to her, like, she's beautiful. And she said to me, like, no, you're beautiful. And 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 she said, and you know what the most beautiful thing about you is? And she
Mm.
said that the most beautiful thing about me was my ability to see beauty in others. And so it's like, and that really hit me because, I try my best to like not judge people by like a cover, and it's not about the way someone looks as such, but it's the way that someone is and the way that somebody carries themselves.
Yeah.
Like, you could be the most beautiful person in the world, but be like,
Very
you know,
unkind.
yeah, you can be very unkind. And you know and I think with bodies, I think a lot of it is sometimes about the way that you carry yourself.
Mm.
Are your shoulders back, or are your shoulders like, are you closing in on yourself? And I think that it's, we have that ability to, you know make ourselves beautiful.
Yeah.
and I think that's a big thing. It's not all about having, designer clothes and, you know, because, I think anyone is capable of being beautiful.
Okay. Yeah.
that makes sense. I'm glad you're not like, oh yeah, being 800 pounds, gorgeous, you go girl, because that is the trend. Today, they say that. They're like, no matter what, you're beautiful. And it's like, well, if you're 800 pounds, maybe you need some support. Like, I wish our society could be more honest with people, and without people being very sensitive with the information given. Like, I don't think we should shame others. I don't believe in that. That's not a good way to go about it. But I think not saying anything at all and telling people they're amazing and gorgeous and beautiful, for me, when I was 300 pounds, it just enabled me to keep being overweight and to keep eating more food, because it was like there was no problem. Like, no one made me feel like I had a problem. My doctors were like, yeah, you have no problem. Therapists, you have no problems. You're perfectly fine. I was like, what the heck? Like, and now losing the weight, I'm like, I can't believe you guys all lied to me. Like, my friends lied to me. It was crazy. Like, it was crazy.
I am like very like blunt and honest, especially with like, you know, I am just an honest person in general, like, but with my closest friends, like I will be like blunt and honest with
Good.
them about, you know, all sorts of things. And, you know, like I would expect them to be blunt and honest with me as well. Like if we were like out shopping or something and I tried something on, like, and if I knew it looked awful and I said to my friend, what do you think? I would expect them to say, it looks awful.
Yeah, they should just lie to your face and be like, oh, it looks great, buy it.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's not like enabling people is one of the worst things we can do for others.
Yeah.
And you know, like you know, like I said to you before, that like when I went to my doctor with a very clear problem that there was something going on with my back, because like my back and my leg, and you know, there was a real issue, and an MRI scan then clearly showed that, you know, my sciatic nerve was being compressed. So physically they could see that there was a serious issue which resulted in surgery. So, you know, and they have like strict criteria. Like I currently have 3 slip discs at my
Wow.
lower back, but they won't give me an operation on it to like remove it, because there won't be any, like it's not going to make my legs start working again properly. So maybe it might help with some of the pain if they were to operate, but physically it's not going to make any difference. So because it's on the NHS, if I went to a private hospital and paid for it, then I could get it done, but I
Right.
don't have £20,000 to go and get it done. So on the NHS they won't do it, and I understand why they won't do it, but at the same time it's still, you know, living with the pain of having those 3 slip discs, you know. And I've got fibromyalgia, which is a whole different ball game of like I struggle very much with the term fibromyalgia, because it's an umbrella term, and like there's so many different symptoms, and a lot gets blamed on like you having fibromyalgia, like, oh yeah, that like that's down to fibromyalgia. And you think, actually, is it? Like, why don't we look in and see what's actually going on with something, rather than just like pushing it to one side?
Yeah.
We won't go down that road, because like that's a whole
Yeah. Well,
totally different episode.
no.
But
As we wrap up here, I do wanna mention something. You mentioned earlier enabling, like how certain things enable people, and I'm wondering, like, do you ever feel like the body positivity could or does enable you or any others to kind of stay in their ways, or not change at all because where they're at it's okay?
yeah, I do think it does. Like I think it can make people think that it's okay to be like, you know, like unhealthily overweight,
Yeah.
you know. And you know, because I think that it can be, you know, I think like we've saying, like with blood tests, like blood tests speak for themselves. Blood tests are
Right.
going to tell you if you've got a problem or
Right.
not. And I'm actually doing a trial at the moment for my liver, because I got
Yeah.
diagnosed with fatty liver disease, and well, it's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And I got asked by the GP, my doctor, if I wanted to be part of a trial to try and cure fatty liver disease. And so my levels like I had to go through like a lot of different tests, and I had to have a liver biopsy and all sorts to see. And it, like, for the range that they were looking at, I was quite sort of low down the scale, but I still qualified to be on this test. And I've been on some trial medication for a year now, because I want to be part of like trying to find a cure for something.
Yeah.
But I have like my bloods checked every 3 months. So they take 18 vials of blood from me every 3 months to do
Wow.
different tests on it. And every time the doctors reconfirm to me again that, oh, yes, this is really good for you. This is good for you. This is good for, so they're checking all the time to see that like other parts of my body like are performing how they should do. But then that's because of what's going into my body. So I think that like enabling and, just saying that it's okay to be obese, it's okay to eat what you want, like is not the way, it's not the answer.
Yeah.
But I think that at the same time, just being obese or overweight shouldn't just automatically be assumed that you are an unhealthy person because of the size of your body. So I think that just looking at a picture of somebody, you can't tell what their story is. Like, you don't know what they've gone through to get to that point. Like, I miss walking properly. Like, it makes me sad sometimes if I go somewhere and there's hills and like fields and all sorts, because I miss being able to go out for a hike or a walk or whatever. Whereas now, like, I have a mobility scooter and I have to, like, I'm 40 years old and I have a collection of walking sticks that are all different colors because I can then color coordinate them with like my outfits. But I can't wear high heels anymore. I can't, there's so many things that I cannot do. But that's my story. So, I've got my reasons. And if I could be smaller, would I? Yeah, absolutely.
And Feya, do you believe that, because there have been some studies that have been done, and you were mentioning earlier how when you are overweight, or you shouldn't judge someone by just the way they look, they could be healthy. What do you think about the studies that say that, being overweight, if you're over 40 pounds, you lose 7 years of your life. So let's say you're 80 pounds, you lose 14 years of your life, and that, 4 million people have died this year of obesity. Do you think that that has any correlation to, like if someone is overweight, that technically does mean they're unhealthy. So do you agree with some of those studies or not as much?
I think, like, I think that anybody should like agree with those studies, because I mean, yeah, like it's not that, like just because like my blood levels show that I don't have diabetes or high cholesterol or whatever, like my body still has to work harder. Like my heart will still have to work harder, like my lungs will still have to work harder. So there's always going to be like additional pressure on your body. Like, there's extra pressure on your legs when you do walk or what have you, because like you're carrying like that extra weight. So obviously, any study that gets done, there's always going to be another study to try and debunk it and what have you. But if you've got an option of like, I think using your example of what you're saying about the studies where it's saying like, if you're, if you've got this, so if you've got an extra 40 pounds on your body, like you're losing 7 years of your life, if you have an option of losing those 40 pounds but gaining 7 years on your life, if anybody that said that they wouldn't take that option, I think would be lying. Like my dad he had a stroke a few years ago,
I'm
and
sorry.
like he's all right. Like he's very fortunate that like it's not affected him like long term. However, when he had that stroke, he got told that he had diabetes, like type 2 diabetes. He also had high cholesterol. He had like high blood pressure, and my dad smoked. So my dad smoked. I don't know if you have them in the States, but Marlboro Red
Oh yeah,
cigarettes.
I know what that is.
Very strong, very like full of tar, like bad cigarettes, like one of the strongest that like we have. And my dad would have to go up to the pub after work and have like a few beers because he worked from home. So like it was his social, interaction.
Yeah.
And my dad got told by the doctors when he had his stroke, if you don't stop smoking and change your diet and stop drinking, you will not be like, next time you won't be so lucky.
Yeah.
And I was in hospital for 2 weeks, and he'd smoked for like over 50 years, and like, so this is now like I think 7 years since my dad had a stroke, and he's not smoked since.
Wow. See, that's amazing. That's how I feel. I'm like 3 years into not binge eating anymore. And it's because of how I felt, and like I got blood work done, and it did show, and all my blood work showed me that it was like all my issues were from obesity. They were high triglycerides, which is caused from obesity, risk to get diabetes and heart disease, which, as we were talking about earlier, is a risk of obesity. And so everything that my blood was showing was because I was overweight, and it scared me so much. I said, I'm never going back. I'm never doing this again. This isn't healthy, and I have to find other ways to cope with my emotions. And Feya, I wish that more people would talk about that, because people who are overweight usually go to food for their emotional well-being. They use their emotions in food. That's where they go. And no one's really talking about that. They're just talking about, let's just be overweight and eat, instead of, why are we eating instead of talking to a friend? Or why are we eating instead of going for a walk? Or getting a hug from someone. Because me and Mom talk about it a lot in our program, but like there are sensory hungers and there are emotional hungers. And when we crave something salty, sometimes we just want to hug. Or if we're craving something sweet, we just want to have a conversation with someone. And that is such a very real thing that no one speaks about. So
no, I agree with you. Like I definitely like agree with you like on that. It's it's like distraction markers, isn't it? It's like, don't go to the like I think like we've just had Christmas, and how many households out there will still have a tin of chocolates, like, which like got bought before Christmas, and after Christmas it's still not been eaten. So or like the amount of food that gets bought for Christmas Day and Boxing Day, and the shops are only open generally for Christmas Day. Like, I mean, only shut for Christmas Day, yet people buy like mountains, trolleys full. Like, I know I had Christmas with like my boyfriend and his parents, like as I normally do, and there was so much leftover food after the Christmas dinner. And the next day, on Boxing Day, there was still like loads of the vegetables left, and there was like some chicken left. And so I had a plate of like chicken and vegetables and things on Boxing Day, but nobody else did. So I was the only one who had some of the leftovers because nobody else wanted the leftovers. So any leftovers that were left after that, like, just were going in the bin essentially. And I was like, this has got to stop. I said to my boyfriend, this has got to stop. Like, next year we cannot buy so much food that's just going to go to waste afterwards. Like, if there's more than what we need for the dinner, then like it's too much. Like,
Right.
Our eyes are bigger than our stomachs. We think we need all this, and then we literally can only eat so much. Our stomach is literally the size of like 2 fists.
exactly.
And it's crazy the amount of food that we buy and consume, and we think we need more than we really do. And it's really, I will say, it's so challenging to listen to when you're actually full, right? Like, there's like a point where you're like, oh, I'm full, and then you eat too much, and then you're like too full. And I know that feeling. Do you know that feeling?
Well, yeah, like yeah, and I mean, I do my very best to not get to a point where I'm full,
Yeah.
because like if you get into a point where you're full, and like nobody likes that feeling where you feel like you've got a food baby and your tummy feels like it's so like stretched,
When I was 300 pounds, I had the same thing happen to me. I'd eat too much, and I would literally, like, it would be hard to breathe. I don't know if you ever had that feeling, where it's, like, really hard to breathe, and you're, like, bent over because it's so uncomfortable. And I used to make myself puke after, because it just was too much. But that was the thing, like, my hunger receptors were off, and I was, like, eating too much because the food I was eating was the wrong food, so it was very addicting, and I just wanted more and more and more of it. And then I've learned, like, over the years of losing weight, I learned that, like, you're only supposed to eat till you're, like, 75% satiated. Like, that's actually when your body is healthy and full. Like, which is not easy to do because food is delicious.
yeah, and like nobody has like well, like how much is 75%, like
Right.
your body
Like,
doesn't,
how do you know?
but like if I like once my dinner's there, if I have a plate of food, like like you don't go and like pile it up like a mountain, like
Right.
it's you use a plate. There's lots of tricks that you can do, like you can have a smaller plate,
Yeah.
and put your portion on a smaller plate, and therefore you still have a plate full, but it's not like a giant plate full.
Right, but Feya, something that I used to struggle with, I don't know if you ever struggle with this, is like you'll get a little plate of food, but then you have this fear that it's gonna all go away, and that someone's gonna take all your food away from you, so you need to get more of it, just in case you run out. I don't know if you ever had that feeling, but I remember I used to load up my plate because I'd be really scared that there'd be none left for me. And then I end up eating it all because I feel bad that there's too much on my plate. And then, it's just like this whole cycle.
Are you an only child, or have you got siblings?
I'm an only child.
I was gonna say that I know sometimes with like people that have siblings. So I only have a younger brother, but like especially when people have got multiple siblings. So if they're like like one of like 4 or 5 or what have you, like that can be I need to eat super quickly, and I need to it's just I've got to pile it on and eat it all, like because people are used to like having to fight with siblings to get the food and what have you.
But also just an unrealistic, scarcity mindset, right? It's also sometimes it's just irrealistic. Like there may be no one there, but you're just like, oh, it's gonna be gone.
Yeah, I know one thing that like is good for me, and it's something that's good in general, but I'm a very slow eater.
That's amazing. That's the best trait ever. I wish I had that trait.
To the point where like I think sometimes I feel embarrassed about the amount of time like it can take me to like eat, but but it's because like I eat the whole mouthful, and I chew my food, and so I think maybe it's little traits that I've learned over the years, because like they always say that if you eat like you chew your food a certain amount of times, it's
the bacteria in your saliva, there are so many probiotics and enzymes in your saliva, so the more you chew, the more those activate, and so it's way easier for your body to digest the food because you're supposed to chew I think like 100 times or something like that.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't do that, so I can admit that I definitely don't do that. And also because the enzymes help your body digest the food better, so essentially, I mean, you'll be better even for weight loss too. Like if people can learn to chew 100 times, the enzymes will help your body digest the food better, and then your hunger receptors will be on a better track to understand. Oh wait, we're full. But if we're like shoving food in our mouths, how are we supposed to know when we're even full? If we're just chomping food down. But it's become this thing where like we don't make time to eat. We don't make time for ourselves to sit down for 30 minutes to an hour to eat a meal. You know, we're all like hunched over on our phones, like just like watching TV while our meal instead of like connecting with one another and like having a genuine chat. You know, sometimes we'll just sit there and eat and not even talk. But like that's not really communicating. Like that's not the connection that it used to be back in the day. So I want to bring that back. Bring back real communication at the table.
Yeah, I think there's just so many like things out there, and there's the obvious one, isn't there, that like if you don't buy it, you don't eat it. Like,
Right.
Like we have a rule in our house, like no sugar, no flour, because we know that they're the most addictive foods, and we know that sugar is more addictive than cocaine. So why would we have it in our home?
You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, I'm someone that if there's some chocolate in the kitchen, then I am less likely to want it.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing because you think
that's weird. I've never heard of that before.
No, I think I just have a bit of a weird brain. I think, like I've got.
I think your brain is perfect.
Oh, thank you. I'll accept that. But I think that, there's like bits of chocolate that was in like my stocking at Christmas. Like my boyfriend's mum does us all stockings every year. It's like the cutest thing. We get all sorts of little things, but there'll be some little bits of chocolate in there, like not massive, just like a couple of little boxes, and they're still sitting in like my like bag with all my Christmas presents because I've not had time to go through everything, but because I know it's there, my brain doesn't want it. Whereas if there wasn't any chocolate, maybe then I'd want it. And I think I'm also lucky in that I'm not I'm not really a fan of bread.
That's great. That's a good thing. I love my bread. I love bread so much, I've had to learn how to make it out of buckwheat and millet.
Wow.
Well, millet is a grain, but it's like a weight loss grain because you can't eat too much of it. And then buckwheat is actually not a grain, which I thought was amazing because it doesn't make me gain weight. It doesn't spike my blood sugar like crazy. And I've lost a lot of weight eating it, and it's delicious.
That's good. Yeah, I find bread boring. Like,
that's great. No, that's a great thing for weight loss. So that brings me to my last question, Feya. Like, how is your weight loss? Like, are you on a weight loss journey? Do you plan to be on one? What's your like next steps with your health?
I think like I'm not like actively on like a weight loss journey, but I think in general, I try to make the right choices.
Yeah.
Like, like everyone can have a treat. Like if you want a pizza, like, have a pizza, but like, we had a pizza last week, but instead of like ordering 2 giant pizzas from Domino's because like it was on offer, like we had 1 pizza between us instead. And but we'd not eaten pizza for like, I don't know, weeks. I don't remember the last time that we had it. So having something every now and again as a treat is one thing. It's just not making it like an every week thing. Like we don't eat takeaways very often. And like when we do shopping, like again, like I don't know whether you have them in America, but we like a lot of places do here. We have like a traffic light system on the front of foods, so like the foods will automatically show you like the fat content and sugar content and salt content, and they will be green, amber, or red.
Yeah, I love that Europe does that because I feel like it's the most honest thing you could do. My father lives in Europe, and everything all the foods have like the food score labels. They're like, this is good for you, this is bad for you. And I'm like, why doesn't every food in America like that? Because it just directly tells you, buy it or don't. Like it just... If you use your logic, which some of us don't have, then you can just decipher, this is good for me, I should eat it, or this is bad for me, I'm not going to choose it. It's not like rocket science. You guys really got it under control over there. I like what you're doing.
I mean, it's not everywhere, but like it's a lot of places. Like most shops, most supermarkets have it these days, and so like those red like boxes, like maybe there's probably a lot of people out there that don't care, like, and if they want something they will buy it. If it's what they want to eat, they will buy it, fine. But like to me personally, if I see something which is covered in red lights, like that, those red lights are enough to tell me don't eat it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and having like, because they put like the content of it like on the front of packages now, it's it makes you much more aware of like what is
Totally.
going in. And even in some restaurants now, they will put on the side of the food, like on the side of the menus, what the calorie content is.
Yeah, I love it when they do that. It's really helpful because you'll see some meals at restaurants be like thousands of calories, and you're like, "Whoa!" I would never eat that if I had known that that's how many calories in it. I would have never eaten it. You know?
Yeah, like I picked something up in the shop the other day, and it was like just for the one box. I think it was some sort of pork, and pork isn't great anyway because pork's like quite a fatty thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think it was like pork belly bites or something
yeah.
like that. It's the sort of thing that looks delicious and like tastes great, but like when you look at it, and it was this box, and it was just some bites that were meant to be some sort of party food or something. And I picked it up because it had a reduced sticker on it, like a reduction sticker. So I
Oh.
was like, oh, like let's have a look at that. And so I picked it up, and I looked at the content of it, and I was with my friend, and just for this one box alone, so it said it was like 4 portions worth in there, but realistically, one person could eat this whole box of stuff,
Right.
and you know, like, and it would have been 1,000 calories just for this one box.
Wow.
So like obviously like the box didn't come away with me, like it got put down there for somebody else to get, because I was like, that box itself wouldn't be like a proper meal, because like
Yeah.
you wouldn't just eat those bits on their own, like
Right.
so. But I think it comes down to willpower as well, and
Oh, it does. Willpower
know,
is really important for sure, Feya.
yeah, and some people struggle with willpower. I mean, everyone
Right.
does to some extent, like no one was perfect, but it's like it depends what you want like enough out of things. So I think that
Yeah.
for me, like I try to be like healthy, like where I can. I make sure that I have, you know, a decent like fruit and vegetable like intake, make sure that I have like fiber that my body needs, where I can. I have reviews with my doctor to check
Mhm.
like over my like medication. Do I still need to be taking this? Like, can we try reducing things? And anytime I ever reduce my medication, like I see like a difference in like my weight.
Yeah.
But for a long time, my weight has been on a plateau, regardless of what I've tried, and that's where it becomes frustrating. But you know, like I think that nobody can say they've tried everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't tried everything in the world, but I'll tell you, Faye, I've tried so many freaking diets. It was so frustrating because I really experienced the same thing as you. I tried so many diets, I failed them all. I lost 20 pounds and gained them back, and it was just frustrating. And I kind of came to this realization that diets are like band-aids on bullet holes. Like, first of all, the system isn't meant for you to succeed. Ozempic or weight loss surgery, those are just quick fixes. Those aren't like long-term solutions, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's something that me and my mom like were really passionate about like fixing, because we realized that like the diets weren't working. And so actually the way I lost 140 pounds was with a lifestyle, which was really interesting because it was just like taking small steps from like going to a double cheeseburger to a normal cheeseburger to a cheeseburger on lettuce to a turkey burger. And it was just like slowly but surely, week by week, I do different things. Like I started with a 5-minute walk, and then a 15-minute walk, and then a 20-minute walk, and then it became 30, and then I started, lightly jogging and just doing things that were fun, but moving in a way that was exciting, not boring and tedious. And that's how I actually lost the weight without having to do the pills or injections, because I tried it all and it didn't work, and it was really frustrating because it was like, why isn't the weight coming off? Why can't I keep it off? And why is nothing working? Why do I have to keep doing all these other things? So I really relate to you when you say that. Like, I really do, and it does take a lot of willpower, and support. Like, I feel like on our journeys with weight loss, we need support and accountability. And, you know,
Absolutely.
me and my mom created a woman support group where you can actually, like, we have a bunch of women who are able to talk to each other every day and check in and take photos of their food, and we just like want to see where they're at and just get them on track. If they fall off, they get back on and talk about their struggles. So you're not alone, because a lot of diets are just like, you know, they're kind of robotic, or just like, do this. They don't have any real people talking to them, so it feels kind of fake, if you will.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I don't agree with a lot of things that are out there. Like I mentioned, you know, like I think we all know Weight Watchers and how it does its points and things like that. But, you know, like you can get like Weight Watchers ready meals now, and
but they don't even have good ingredients in them. You know, they have chemicals in them to make them, they're highly processed, and it's just, it only benefits Weight Watchers. You know, I know people who've done Weight Watchers for their whole life, and I'm like, why are you still doing Weight Watchers? You know, the point of me and Mom's program is that you guys graduate and learn how to cook delicious, healthy food that tastes like a Ben and Jerry's, but it's actually a banana with stevia chocolate chips. You know what I mean? And that's the point. Exactly. How can you make it at home so you don't have to rely on other companies or other people for your success? Because you shouldn't have to. I mean, I believe.
I totally agree. Like I miss cooking a lot. Like I struggle because of like my back, and struggle being in the kitchen, and even just moving like side to side is enough to like throw my back. Like it's very difficult, and so I rely like a lot on my boyfriend to like do a lot of cooking and bits and pieces for me. So I am very fortunate to have him, and like as my like support network, like for so many things. But you know, I've not thankfully got to a point where I have to like give up on myself entirely. And I think that, you know, just like what we've been saying all throughout, it's a mindset, a lot of it, and it's, you know, it's like it, you know, there's no, I believe that there, like, you know, it's an either you can or you won't. Like it's not a you can't. So, you know, to some extent, like like for me to say like I can't lose weight is like not, is like a lie,
Right.
because I could lose weight, and I can lose weight, and I know very easily, you know, when I say about like the medication and things, I know that if I stop taking all that, like a lot of weight would come off me very quickly. But I also know like the repercussions of that, and you know, the fact that my body will just, you know, not be very happy with me. But there's no such thing as can't.
Right.
And
I always say, like, you get to. You don't have to, but you get to. You know, it's that mindset that people need to get into. But, you know, Feya, your journey is inspiring, and you've been through a lot over the years, and you've overcome a lot. And it's amazing to see that you're still positive. You still have good energy, high energy, and you have a smile on your face. And that's so beautiful, because there's so much negativity in the world. And despite all that you've been through, you walk through it with, you know, grit and happiness. And it's just beautiful to see you still happy on the end of it. And so I'm so grateful that you came on today. We loved having you.
Thank you so much.
If you could let people know where they could find you, like what your social handles are, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so it's at chronically fibro.
Okay.
Feya, and then _ Feya art.
I'll put it in the caption, but yeah.
Yeah, like it's one of those you don't ever find yourself, do you? So yeah, chronically fibro _ Feya art.
Okay, great, amazing.
And yeah, that's the same on Instagram and on TikTok. Don't really do much on TikTok. I tried, but it doesn't get very far.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and we loved having you. And yeah, look forward to chatting again.
Yeah, thank you, definitely. Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
It was so great to have Feya on. If you're interested in learning more about our Step It Up program, don't forget to check the link in the description. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. And if you liked this video and you want to see more interviews, don't forget to comment down below. We want to see more interviews, and we will definitely be giving you guys some more of those.